Thank you, Kelly. Welcome everyone to the meeting this evening. Starting with agenda item 1, which is the meeting protocol. Could you please ensure that your mobile phones are turned off or onto silent, please? And you are invited to unmute your microphone to speak, but could you please mute it again immediately when you've finished speaking? It is possible, if you have finished speaking and your microphone is still on, that myself or an officer can switch it off on your behalf. Members may raise a point of order by use of the chat facility. In raising the point of order, the member should indicate the procedural or the part of the law that is being breached. The Executive Director shall alert the Chair of the meeting to the point of order, and I shall consider the issue at the end of any speech that is being delivered at the time the point is raised. And my ruling on the point of order is final. Could I also ask members to only speak to the agenda item under discussion, or I may ask you to stop speaking. So moving on to item 3, which is the minutes of the meeting. Okay. The minutes of the meeting that was on sorry, we seem to have a problem. No, sorry. Okay, the minutes of the meeting, the minutes of the previous meeting. Which are on page 8 of your agenda. The minutes of the previous meeting. Is there a seconder, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
That's it. Oh, you switch it off again. Just one click. That's it.
I wish it had worked properly. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have any apologies for the meeting. So move then to item 3, which is the minutes of the previous meeting. I will move the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there a seconder for the minutes?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any speakers? Councillor Condacourt.
Sorry, Mayor, I was just seconding, but didn't get in quick enough.
Did you wish to speak, Councillor Condacourt? No?
No, I was just seconding, but someone got in before me.
Well, you said, I see. Okay, thank you. I don't, at this point, see any dissent for the minutes of the meeting, so I will assume that they are agreed as a true and correct record. Item 4 on the agenda is the declarations of interest, and to receive declarations of interest that are not already listed on schedule page 26 of the agenda. Does anyone have anything to raise on the other than what is already on the papers you have in front of you? No? Okay, thank you. So we will move on to announcements, which is agenda item 5. I don't have any announcements, but I believe the Leader of the Council has an announcement. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I inform Council that today I was informed for personal reasons Councillor Phillips has decided to step aside as Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member, and I will be dealing with matters in the planning portfolio this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Item 6 on your agenda, public participation. There is a slight mistake in that it is billed as item 5 on your paperwork, but it is actually agenda item 6, public participation, which we have the information for. Who's reading these out, Mr. Richardson? Okay. Mr. Brent, have you got these public questions, please?
I have, thank you,
okay,
Madam Mayor. So the first public statement is from Mr. Cole, Mayor of the Woodlands Action Group, and it reads as follows. At last week's Cabinet meeting on the 9th September, the portfolio holder for planning, Councillor Neil Phillips, spoke of the need for NBBC to put the Community Infrastructure Levy, or SIL, as it's known, to be put out for public consultation. Could the Action Group remind Councillor Phillips this is already being done when this council put the local plan out for public consultation in what we believe was 2015? The public consultation in 2015 included NBBC putting on a series of exhibitions at Goodyear's End School and the Civic Hall in Bedworth, explaining the various implications of what the local plan would deliver, part of which was the council's SIL promises to charge developers £50 per square metre on sites above 298 dwellings. Another public consultation on something the public has already been consulted on is another waste of money and proof that Councillor Phillips is not up for the job. It really is time for Councillor Phillips to resign his post of portfolio holder for planning and let someone else more capable take over, given at the last full council he voted for something he has openly admitted in public was dangerous. His excuse for doing so was that he was voting for the whole site's concept plans en bloc, although I think it was Councillor Walmsley had suggested a vote on sites individually. The Action Group suggests to Councillor Phillips that he concentrates, if carrying on as the portfolio holder of planning, with the review of housing targets before this council's dwindling 5-year land supply falls short of the law's 5-year land supply and brings back major problems we the residents were promised would go away with a local plan to Councillor Hancock's planning committee. That's the end of the statement, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson, do you wish to reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just say that at the Cabinet meeting on the 9th of September, it was agreed to a period of public consultation on a potential community infrastructure levy. It is important that the Council obtain the view of the public and other interested stakeholders in the preparation of planning policy documents. With respect to the community infrastructure levy, consultation has previously been undertaken. However, this consultation is dated and it is necessary for the authority to undertake further consultation. This is required because the proposals contained in this consultation are different from the previous version. It is therefore appropriate to obtain feedback on the revised proposals. In addition, should Council decide to move forwards towards adopting a community infrastructure levy, it will need to be independently examined by the Planning Inspectorate. To do so, the Council's evidence and consultation needs to be up to date, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next statement. Brent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is from Luz Shevchevich, which is pronounced with a Black Country accent, so apologies for that, Lubs. In this year's NBBC budget, a sum of £5,000 was allocated to celebrate the 75th anniversary of VE Day across the borough. As this event did not go ahead due to COVID-19 restrictions, I would like to know what plans the council has for this money and if the council would consider allowing local veterans charities to access this fund. That concludes the question, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Sekvich, for your question. It is very unfortunate that the council was not able to go ahead with its plans for VE Day celebrations due to the COVID-19 restrictions in place at the time. The pandemic is forecast to cost the council in the region of £3.5 million this year, and so at this stage the £5,000 savings will go towards balancing the budget this year in such exceptional circumstances. However, we will ensure the budget is available next year so that the council can support events to support VE Day in 2021. Thank you.
Statement 3, please, Brent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is from Mrs. Michelle Condacore, and the question is as follows. At last week's Cabinet, 2 of the items on the agenda were the General Fund Revenue Account and the report of the Climate Change Emergency Working Party. One of the obvious things that was missing from both items was mention of the Mayor's car. Given that during the civic year 2019-20, the cost of the Mayor's car and driver was close to £21,000, including invoices for ludicrously short journeys and hours paying the driver to wait around. For example, a trip to Coaton Road costing the borough £142, with the driver being on duty for 7 hours. Why is this not even being discussed, as it would help balance the budget as well as helping tackle the climate change emergency we are facing? That's the end of the question, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to Michelle Condacore for her question. I can confirm that I had already asked officers to review the arrangements with the Mayor's car in light of the restrictions on social gatherings. No decision has yet been taken. As you can imagine, the impact of the pandemic on council suppliers has been significant, and so the options are being weighed up very carefully with an eye to the future. I'm afraid I can't share too much more information at this stage until a final decision is made on the matter. However, the council's declaration of a climate emergency will form part of those deliberations. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Question statement 4, please, Brent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is from Mr. Jeff Langbridge. At last month's planning committee, the members voted for the officer's recommendations for refusal of 9 dwellings at 99 Woodlands Road, Bedworth. The reasons for refusal were the WCC Highways objected, as did this council's own planning policy team. Could Councillor Neil Phillips give the worried residents a guarantee that if the applicant appeals to the inspectorate, that this council will use a planning barrister like they did at the local plan examination to defend the planning committee's correct decision? That concludes the question, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Planning application 036687 for 9 dwellings and associated infrastructure was determined by Planning Committee on the 25th of August 2020. The recommendation was for refusal for the reasons set out within the officer report. The Planning Committee refused permission and the applicant can decide to appeal. The reason for refusal relates to highways, and it is relevant that in this case Warwickshire County Council failed to respond to an updated request for information. However, the council did receive 3 previous objections from the highways, which informed the recommendation. The failure to respond to the additional request for information puts the decision-making authority in a difficult position, and in this instance the planning authority has had to make a decision without the benefit of updated technical comments. To date, we have not received an appeal. Should the council receive one, we will defend the position. However, it is relevant to consider that the appeal may not take the form of an inquiry. It could be via written representations or a hearing. We would request the County Council Highways to provide information, and if a hearing or inquiry were to take place, we would expect them to attend. Should Highways comments mean the reason for refusal no longer stands, then we would have to reconsider our position, which may mean we present an update report to Planning Committee with an alternative recommendation. If the appeal goes to an inquiry, the council will be legally represented. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And I thank members of the public for sending their statements in to the meeting. So we will move on to agenda item 7, which are the special urgency decisions, which can be found on page 4 of your agenda.
Can I move they be noted?
Sorry, Councillor Jackson.
Madam Mayor, can I move that they be noted? They are
Okay.
decisions that have been taken.
Is there a seconder for that, please?
I'll second, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Condacore.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I just ask about the leisure management contract variation? Because obviously we had to do it in a rush, but it's only a short term. I believe this urgent decision only gives us a new arrangements till October. Can I ask that the longer term arrangement isn't done as an urgent decision? I don't know who can answer that.
Can you help, Councillor?
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, these were decisions taken under urgency by directors, and I would suggest that Councillor Condacore takes that matter up outside of this meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Condacore. Okay, I don't seem to have any more speakers. Just check again. No. So I'll move to the vote. So it is. I don't see any dissenters, so I assume that those special emergency decisions are agreed. Thank you. Agenda item. We move to agenda item 8, which is the devolution review. Pardon? The Cabinet report, sorry. I'm reading two things together. The Cabinet report, agenda item 8. Councillor Jackson.
Madam Mayor, as always, I'm happy to present this report, and either myself or colleagues will answer any questions.
Thank you.
Seconded, Chair.
Councillor Condacore.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Unfortunately, I'm on two screens because it's an e-document, but the item M, which is the climate change item that went to the Cabinet, as we said at the Cabinet, this was deeply frustrating and didn't have any targets in or any ability to get anywhere near zero carbon from the Council. Will the, I think it's probably leader now, have a look at convening a climate change group to actually have a new strategy with targets before this is adopted?
Councillor Jackson.
Madam Mayor, I can inform Council that we will be sending a representative from the Council to the Warwickshire-wide Climate Change Working Group. I hope I've got that name of that committee correct, in due course. This is something that we're going to have to do work on over the foreseeable future. It is very important. We can all see the effects of climate change. It is a vitally important issue. I'm sure we will be keeping it under review.
Thank you. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Chair. I know this is unusual, but as COVID-19 and has an effect on nearly every item under the Cabinet report, and that's a fact on most items on this agenda, and with the state of test and trace that's been reported nationally, can Councillor Jackson please update us on the test and trace, please?
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd, for that question. Sadly, we are still in the midst of a global pandemic that has caused so much distress to so many and has led to a devastating loss of life. We have been promised a world-beating test and trace system repeatedly, but sadly, we know this promise has not come to fruition. Not enough tests being carried out, people travelling miles when they can get one, key NHS staff not able to get tested, a complete shambles. I have been very supportive during this time of efforts, but what we need now is actions. Actions to deliver improvement now, and not hollow words that simply aim to deny or deflect.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to the Leader of the Council with regards to the climate change report. I know that you didn't quite answer Councillor Condacor's question about looking at this authority's future targets, which I find disappointing, but I would refer her to my statement at Cabinet. When will she instruct officers to actually look at benchmarking where we are, establishing a baseline for our current CO2 emissions and other climate change factors, and then look at actually putting in place responsible and reasonable targets to help deal with the climate change threat? Because without these, we don't know where we are and we don't know where we're going to. Surely that's the fundamental basis of any sound action plan.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Councillor, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Wilson, I think I've said this is something of such great importance. We need to keep it under regular review. We will be taking part in the Warwickshire-wide meetings, and we will also obviously be looking at what we can do locally.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got two questions to the portfolio holder for Arts and Leisure in relation to item 2A, which was discussed on the 9th of September. The report goes into some detail about the impact that COVID-19 has had on the Civic Hall. Page 66 of the report does mention the takeaway delivery service that was launched on the 10th of August. Could I ask the portfolio holder why the council has not signed up to Deliveroo or Just Eat for the takeaway service? And my second question also relates to page 66 of the report, where it says, and I quote, the council is still reviewing the guidance on this to determine if and whether it will be financially viable to open the Civic Hall again. Could I ask him, therefore, what plans does the council have for the future of the Civic Hall and its future prospects, given that statement?
Councillor Lloyd.
Yes, Chair. On the food side of it, we're endeavouring to take every opportunity we possibly get at the Civic Hall. Unfortunately, we've gone from around 17 tables to 7 tables internally. The takeaway service, I can't answer that. I'll have to come back to you with that, Councillor Evans. On the other, at the end of the day, we're in a situation where there is a pandemic. It seems to be going in a full circle, the pandemic. We've been in lockdown, we've been out of lockdown and semi-lockdown. We've got a test and trace system that isn't working. People are having to travel many miles for that test and trace system, some to the other end of the country. We have a situation where the pandemic is on its way again, and the actual infection rates are rising rapidly. I don't know how we can, while we're on this roller coaster, plan for anything at the Civic Hall. The difficulty is, we've got to wait until the pandemic is out the way, and then I make no bones about it, all options have to be looked at. I certainly, for one, have no intentions this time in saying the Civic Hall is going to close down. That is not our intentions, but all other options will have to be looked at in the future. But until your government has got an act together and sorted out this pandemic and started finding solutions and getting this world-beating test and trace system in place to help us get on top of the virus, then everything's threatened, from the civic hall to private businesses and to industry. Everybody's in the same boat. It's very, very difficult at this stage to plan while we're in the pandemic. But what we will be looking when it's all over is all options for the civic hall. And that's all I can say on the subject.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I have 4 speakers remaining, 3 of whom have already spoken, but I will not be taking any more speakers after those 4. Councillor Hancock, you haven't spoken yet.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, and hope this question is a bit more positive. I'd like to ask a question, Madam Mayor, in relation to item 2E, but it probably also fits in later on the agenda to item 10A. Could I ask the leader or the portfolio holder, do they welcome the commitment by this council to facilitate and contribute towards improved sport and leisure provision in the Miners Welfare Park, Bedworth, and also pay tribute to all the partners such as Sport England, England Netball, Wasp Netball, Warwickshire County Council, Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council, and Bedworth Sports Hub that has enabled these exciting plans to proceed. And Madam Mayor, I couldn't end this without also paying tribute to my recently passed colleague, County Councillor Richard Chataway, that also pushed a lot of this forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hancock. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hancock, for your question. I'll start from your last mention of Councillor Chataway, because he had worked extremely hard along with the sports club to actually get this up and running. I can inform you that in total we received 98k from Warwickshire County Council, 79,500 from Nuneaton and Bedford Borough Council, and 32,500 from the Sport England. And it's truly a partnership between those 3 and the club. And, you know, it's a job well done by Councillor Chataway. I know you've been heavily involved in it, the same as me, but Councillor Chataway was leading on it. It's a sports hub. It's in our strategy. It's one of the sports hubs that are right through the borough, and some exciting facilities have been brought on board with the new club, revamped cricket ground. The trees have just been removed for the new tennis courts, and obviously we had the consultation earlier in the year on our parks. And, you know, there's plans at foot for many activities, many facilities throughout, not just Bedworth Park, but Nuneaton Park and beyond. So it is exciting times, Councillor, and it's nice to have a good news story at these terrible times.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. Councillor Condocker, you wish to come back?
Thank you. I've got a second question, Madam Mayor. It's about strategic risk register. When the first round of the pandemic struck, it was many months before we updated the risk register. It looks like we're going into a second wave with sadly another death announced at the George Eliot today and 39 cases more in Warwickshire today. Will the risk register urgently be reviewed in light of this second wave that we may be going into, or will that have to wait till many months after it happened?
Councillor Jackson.
Thank you. Can I pass my commiserations to the family of someone who has sadly lost their life at the George Eliot, and indeed to all of the other families that have been mourning during this time. I think it's important we do take a moment to just sympathise, empathise, and that is appropriate to do. In regard to the risk register, Councillor Condacor, you make a very reasonable point, and I will be discussing this with officers over the next few days, and I will give you a personal response to that moving forwards.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is to Councillor Jackson. Could she inform Council how many tonnes of CO2 emissions that Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council is responsible for putting into the atmosphere every year?
Councillor Jackson.
I think I caught that question, Madam Mayor. I had to turn off my camera to improve the broadband speed from where I am. I believe Councillor Wilson was asking how many CO2 emissions we as a council were putting out. I don't have an answer to that question, Madam Mayor, and I will provide a written response.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Evans. Final.
Thank you. Oh yes, sorry, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so I've got two final questions. Firstly, to the leader of the council in connection to the West Midlands Combined Authority. She may have heard that Coventry is currently trialling out e-scooters, and I wondered what discussions she's had with the Combined Authority about potentially extending that that trial and programme into this borough. My final question is again to the portfolio holder for arts and leisure. Does he therefore accept, in response to my previous question, that if the Civic Hall was not in local government ownership, it could have accessed the Cultural Recovery Fund from the Arts Council, it could have accessed £1.57 billion from the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport, who are dishing out grants for local theatres, it could have accessed the Coronavirus Job Retention Scheme, and it may have been able to access business grants as well. Perhaps that would have gone some way in meeting its current substantial funding gap, shall we say. And finally, could I ask him to outline to full council what discussions he has had with officers about the future of the Civic Hall? Because when I read the minutes of one of the recent senior management team meetings, there was a discussion about the future of the Civic Hall, but the minutes didn't go into detail about what that conversation was.
Councillor Jackson, do you want to answer the first part of Councillor Evans' question, please?
Certainly, Madam Mayor, and I thank Councillor Evans for his question. Warwickshire County Council are the Highways Authority. They are responsible for transport, and I would suggest, Councillor Evans, that you ask Councillor Izzy Seckham, who sits on the Combined Authority from Warwickshire County Council, whether she has made approaches in regard to e-scooters. Can I say that we as a council did actually write to Warwickshire County Council urging them to join Transport for the West Midlands, which would have given us far greater benefits. I've yet to hear whether they've determined to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, on the first question about accessing funding, we have put in for funding for the Civic Hall. You know, at the end of the day, from what I've been told by other arts organisations, the likes of the Shakespeare companies and the big London companies, they are going to get the first batch of the funding. The rest of the funding will then come down the tree. At the moment, we're not entitled to that funding because, quite rightly say, it's in council ownership. But we're not alone. There's lots of organisations and councils all over the country that are in the same predicament. It's all right keep saying we should have you know, been in the private sector and applied for this funding. It's not ifs and buts that we're working with. At the end of the day, as I've said, until the government get a grip of the pandemic and get it out of the way and get the track and trace working properly, then businesses like the Civic Hall then can start getting back on a full track. Until we're back on a full track, at the end of the day, at that stage, we will look at all options for the Civic Hall. We have no choice with the finances that the council are in. Officers, having discussions with officers, I've had a number of discussions about the Civic Hall. and finances with the director, who is Kevin Hollis. And I'm not going to go into all the funding arrangements that we've talked about at this particular time. It's absolutely pointless. When we come out the pandemic, then we'll revisit it. Until we come out the pandemic, we're absolutely wasting our time, because nobody will want to touch the Civic Hall or any other organisation like that with a barge pole. So we need to wait and see how the land lies when we come out of this pandemic. So my answer to the whole question really is, have a word with your three local MPs, and get them to get a grip.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. And that finishes agenda item 8, the Cabinet report. We'll move on to agenda item 9, which is the devolution white paper and review of local government in Warwickshire. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the following motion, and I will read it. I know members have got it, but for the purposes of transparency with the public, I will read it. That Council notes that Warwickshire County Council Cabinet has voted to submit plans to government for a single Warwickshire Unitary Authority. Council expresses regret that Warwickshire County Council has decided to do this without regard for the views of districts. Council does not understand the rush, given the government white paper on devolution is not yet published. This council resolves to call on the County Council full council to withdraw the proposals and begin a full, open and transparent discussion on the future of local government with all stakeholders, including district councils, once the white paper is published. In light of the County Council's plan, Council believes the status quo has now been put at risk, and if local government reform is to happen, then a solution that best protects the interests of our residents should be developed. Council therefore resolves to continue to work with the districts and boroughs in Warwickshire to explore all the options available, with a view to submitting detailed plans to government once the options appraisal and public consultation has been completed. And Madam Mayor, my rationale for presenting this motion to Council this evening is clear. Warwickshire County Council Cabinet decided to submit plans to the Minister with a view to create a single unitary Warwickshire. They did this in advance of publication of the white paper. Why the rush? Why the complete lack of consultation? The report to Warwickshire County Council's Cabinet even stated, and I quote, "We and the people of Warwickshire will not want to see our county divided up," end quote. Frankly, I have to ask the question how this could be known when Warwickshire has not consulted people or consulted partners. The reality is, without consultation, you simply cannot make such comments. They are unfounded. Nuneaton and Bedworth welcome the levelling up agenda. I've lived in our borough since I was 5, and for most of that time, Conservatives have been in control of education at Warwickshire County Council. What levelling up has occurred? Gaps in educational achievement continue, no narrowing the gap there. Under Warwickshire County Council, we have seen libraries closed, supporting people grant removed for our older persons complexes, health inequalities continuing between the north and south of the county, and so on. Warwickshire has not succeeded in levelling up to date, and without a clear roadmap, I and others will query a genuine commitment to it in the report that was submitted to the County Council's Cabinet. Nuneaton and Bedworth need to send a clear message to the county. Slow down. consult, and consult hard. Not take our views for granted. Make sure what you are saying is factually correct. But above all, ask the people what they think and not jump before you know. There is simply no need to rush this. Whatever is decided will affect the lives of generations to come, and it deserves proper consideration, proper consultation and proper decision making. I so move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Is there a seconder for the Councillor Jackson's proposal?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll second it, and I'd like to speak on the issue as well, please.
Do you wish to speak now, Councillor Lloyd?
Yes, please.
Okay, continue then.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, now the first thing that saddens me is that Warwickshire County Council has tried to somehow sneak this through during a pandemic while all eyes are turned elsewhere. There's been no bones about it. At the end of the day, the biggest issue affecting the people that live in Warwickshire and Nuneaton and Bedworth is the pandemic. And, you know, at the end of the day, people are looking in that direction rather than this direction. So it saddens me that they tried to sneak this in. Izzy Second, the leader of the County Council, attended our cabinet the other week and spoke on this issue. And having gone to government, cap in hand with her policy of unitary authority across the whole of the county, she now at this stage wants to work with us, but she's not prepared to withdraw the proposals that are going to government. She'll withdraw them till after, she says, the full council meeting, but you can bet your bottom dollar they'll be straight in after the full council meeting. I think it's ludicrous that in this day and age that they won't sign up and won't agree to not do anything until at such a stage we've had all the documentation back from the consultants that the 5 districts have engaged, and that we've had chance to read that report and come to a conclusion right across the county. That's working together. Not what isn't working together is do as I say, and that's what seems to be coming. Now, I find it very difficult spending lots of time on this issue, but as Julie says, you know, at the end of the day, it is going to be a massive issue for the people of Nuneaton and Bedworth. Those are the people we should be asking and consulting. Other districts should get the opportunity to consult their districts as well. So I support this motion 100%, and I hope the opposition will support it as well, because they need to withdraw those proposals until all consultation has taken place. There is no rush. We've got enough to deal with the pandemic, let alone this as well. And me saying all of that before anybody says you just want to stay the same, no. What I want to do is look at all the options. I accept there's got to be some changes, but we should be looking at all the options of the status quo, of a hybrid of the status quo, a hybrid of the county option, or 2 unitary authorities. There's loads of options in there that we could be looking at. And I think before we go down the road of one option, all districts and the county should be consulting the public and looking at all the options. And I'll leave it at that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd. Excuse me. Councillor Rudkin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I must apologise. I've had to put my camera off due to broadband issues. I wish to support the motion put forward by the Leader of the Council that this Council expresses regret at the actions of Warwickshire County Council in jumping the starting gun in regards to the reorganisation of local democracy. The white paper has not been published yet the County Council talk about their proposals meeting the aspirations of the government plans. The government and the PM and indeed the Conservatives talk about working together. Indeed, the PM constantly says this at Prime Minister's questions. Surely this is a vital issue to take the public with us, and without proper consultations, how will this be achieved? It is vital that all opinions are considered, not just the one that the county have put forward. As I understand it, the other district councils feel much the same as the council about this issue. There is no doubt from time to time that things need to change in local government. Indeed, the time we are going through at present, local government has acted superbly during this time in so many ways. But if change is needed, there must be in an organised way and take the public with us. As I've said at the beginning, Madam Mayor, I wish to support the motion. Let's work together to achieve the best outcome. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Brudkin. Councillor Gisay. Councillor Gisay.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So obviously, without the white paper, it's hard to get all the details and the facts of what we're comparing to. But just without saying, we've done it early, we wanted to withdraw this. We're going in early because the government's already made it clear that change will happen. That's what the white paper's about. So we don't know all the details of what's going in there. We need that, obviously, to look at what's involved in that. But the very fact that they're publishing a white paper and spending this amount of money and time on doing this means change will happen. And to be frank, it needs to happen. I think the reason this has come forward to Cabinet at County so early is so we can hopefully, obviously a discussion would be better with residents and consultation, but so we can be early as part of what plans to do. So if we're going to have a pilot of this, as we've seen in other areas, I think Bucks has got it now, Wiltshire, Somerset have gone in for it. There's a couple of these and they've actually done really well. So on the whole of actually what could happen, a single unitary council could be amazing for us here. Obviously, we need to get into the nitty gritty and the details of that. But the fact that we could save money and cut red tape is something that should be celebrated, not maybe worried about who's in charge or what could happen. We've seen, obviously, the talk about education in Warwickshire over the last 30 years. We look at the roads in Nuneaton, with Labour have been in charge in Nuneaton for how many years? And the Labour have been in charge of Nuneaton, and we've gone massively downhill. We see the county highways playing catch up with the roads. The road systems are a mess. We don't work in unison with the council as other areas do. We've got Hinckley, Rugby, Hinckley obviously is Leicestershire, but all these other areas where they're having developments and they actually build roads and they work better. And they do have teething problems, but they've actually got new roads, new developments, new businesses. That's what we need. Not necessarily a single council, but we can't then look back at what's happened with the education. Our education system it's not perfect. There are issues, but we've got other issues down to what's happened over the last few years of who's been running Nuneaton Bedworth Borough Council. So based on that, this could be a really good idea. Obviously, it cuts red tape. It could give residents extra value for money. There'd be better communication from different departments. And I say that without obviously seeing what this case is. Until we've got the business case from the white paper, we can go into more detail. But I don't agree with the motion we're putting forward today.
Thank you, Councillor Gisay. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move an amendment to what has been proposed by Councillor Jackson, and I'll put it in the chat, but I've also sent a copy to Kelly to display on the screen if she can.
I will try and do that now.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. The motion or the amendment I'm putting forward today is actually reflecting the situation as it is now, rather than jumping the gun as the controlling group have done. So I have kept in that we note that the County Council Cabinet has voted to submit to government a plan for Warwickshire Unitary Authority, but then go on to actually do something more constructive than what the controlling group are putting forward tonight. looking at double devolution, looking at putting matters closer to residents, looking at climate change and how we can move forward in the coming years, achieving better value for our taxpayers. Heaven knows before COVID, the value for money that taxpayers were getting from this authority was woeful. And we must put that ahead of some of our considerations. Having clear, accountable leadership and governance, looking at designing the model across Warwickshire for whatever model we end up looking at, and that we have a local focus but with a strategic approach. And most importantly, having those conversations and consultations with residents. What I am putting forward tonight is a far more reasoned and structured proposal than Councillor Jackson did. And actually looks at taking matters forward rather than digging our heels in and hoping to carry on with the status quo. But more importantly, I believe this council also needs to hold the leader to task. I have it on very good authority, and it is someone who has spoken to me on a condition of anonymity, a council employee, not a political member, has informed me that the leader of the council actually approached the leader of Labour-controlled Coventry City Council to discuss merging the borough into Coventry, without a single thought for the views and wishes of the people of Nuneaton and Bedworth. It's the height of hypocrisy for Councillor Jackson and the others opposite to sit there tonight and move the motion they have moved when they have tried to do exactly the same as they are accusing the county of, and doing so without any consultation, without any reports looking at what is viable or not, and doing so on the basis of a phone call before even the county council had moved any idea of a suggestion forward. It is unacceptable, in my view and in my group's view, that the leader of the council tried to act in a way which was to go to the Coventry City Council and try and merge us with them without even consulting any member of this authority. What we need to do is actually be open and constructive and actually move forward to a better model of governance for all our residents, which is what our amendment does tonight, looking at value for money for taxpayers, actually giving clear, accountable leadership to residents, whereas we know there is a confusion with residents over who does what. Taking power as far down to the people as possible, looking at double devolution, and having a look at keeping things as local as we can, but having a broad structure on top which looks at the overall strategy and delivering for residents. What the motion does tonight, which is before us, which the other one doesn't, is actually deflect from actually dealing with anything constructive and trying to deal with the agenda moving forward. We don't know what is going to be in the white paper, but we do know there is going to be an emphasis on unitary, and it is only right that all councils get their ducks in a row and to commission reports, and then let the public have their say. And to say that we haven't got the information to look at is wrong. The cabinet papers the council papers going to full council, and I have them before me now, that county clearly show the cold, hard data, the facts and figures, the pounds, shillings and pence about what not only a one unitary authority would cost and involve, but also two unitary authorities would involve. So again, the premise of the substantive motion as it stands is incorrect. So I move the amendment from the Conservative group, as it does far more for the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth, is far clearer, achieves far more, and actually advances reform of local government sensibly.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. So is there a seconder for Councillor Wilson's proposal, please?
Yes, Chair. It's Councillor Golby. I'll second the motion and reserve my right to speak, please.
Thank you. Now, we will now move into discussion on the amendment, but there is a difficulty with the hands that we have up. Kelly, could you take that amendment off the screen, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. There is a difficulty because the discussion that we were having was on the proposal. So all the hands that were up previously were in relation to speaking on the proposal. We are now moving to speak on the amendment. So anyone who had their names up, their hands up previously for the proposal, could you take your hands down now, please? And then I will know who wants to speak on the amendment. So I'm assuming that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 speakers that are on there are speaking to the amendments. Councillor Gisane.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. I didn't actually raise my hand. I didn't take it off, but I'll just speak anyway. May as well. Right. Go back to my notes then. Where are we? So yeah, I agree completely with the amendment and the amended motion. The whole point is we've looked at obviously the modelling for one council, and the fact that we've even talked about, you know, talking to Coventry. We talked about having a North Warwickshire council. That would go against obviously the fact we've talked about the North and South divide for so long, and so many members of both sides have talked about that. Yeah, doing this would only add to that, and obviously we would be losing all the benefits of being part of South Warwickshire as well. The savings we'd make from us having a single council, you know, far outweigh all the other issues that could come up. Obviously, we do need to look at it properly. We need to consult residents and talk about everything else. But the changes this could have, this could add, you know, we could do all sorts. We could tap into each other's resources. We could get rid of the red tape and the confusion for residents when they don't know who to contact about, you know, certain things. They're passed around between people. Sometimes they get lost. Sometimes they just pass from pillar to post. And doing this would get rid of all of that. It would literally be better value for money for residents. And we would also have a better voice to go to, well, lobbying government, and also a better voice and stronger voice for investment in Warwickshire as we go towards businesses. So, yeah, I agree with the motion to amend.
Thank you. Councillor Glass.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor. Unfortunately, I can't agree with the amendment, and it comes as no surprise to me, considering the last meeting when the deputy leader said that the Conservatives were in favour of a unitary authority. So it comes as no surprise to me that this amendment is put forward in front of us. And also, Councillor Gisane, the roads don't belong to Nuneaton and Bedworth, they belong to Warwickshire. They always have done. I was going to say something else here, but I better not. I can't support this because unless we get a proper consultation through our stakeholders and partners, etc., we won't be able to decide the proper way forward. What the county have done with the backing of the Nuneaton and Bedworth Conservatives have jumped the gun. We can see where they're going for. They want a unitary authority based on Leafy Warwickshire. I, along with others, hopefully will listen to what people are saying and try and get power closer to communities rather than further away. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Glass. Councillor Lloyd. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, I've just heard what Councillor Christopher.
Pardon? Sorry. Was that an intention? Councillor Lloyd, did you want?
Somebody muted me, Madam Mayor. Nothing. I heard what Councillor Wilson said. I can't support their motion. And let me just say, nothing is more constructive than commissioning a report on all options, not like the county one, who's only looking at one option. And let's make it clear, when those options come in and when this council eventually decides on an option, the people should be consulted. It's as simple as that. And I don't care what their motion says, it does not say that. Madam Mayor, you know, we get a lot of myths and a lot of spin. Now, spin to me is mixing up the truth. And if you mix the truth up, then you're on the boundary of telling lies. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody is a liar, but if that's what they want to do and spin the facts, all I've heard about this Coventry is hearsay, not one shred of evidence. Hearsay. Let me say, quite frankly, I know for a fact that the leader of the council has spoke with all districts and Warwickshire County Council and many politicians over this issue since the Izzy Second, who now wants to work together, fired the starting pistol. Because it wasn't us that fired the starting pistol on this, it was the Conservative leader of the County Council. So forgive me if I don't trust their recommendation, their motion. So I should definitely vote against that motion. And I hope Sunday will move progress on the amendment so we can get to the real nitty-gritty of the real motion that's put in front of this council that looks at...
No. No, you've gone off again, Councillor. Councillor Lloyd, have you muted again?
Madam Mayor, I'm going to say this once, I'm not going to say it again. Somebody is muting me. I am not touching the computer. Now, I don't think that's funny, but somebody is doing it. You know, if you don't want to a debate, that's fine. But somebody keeps muting me 3 times.
Thank you. Do you want to continue or had you finished speaking, Councillor?
Madam Mayor, you know, I'll tell you what, I'm going to move the amendment. Can I move the amendment goes to the vote immediately? Thank you.
Well, I have a proposal that we move to the vote on the amendment. Is there a seconder for that proposal?
I'll second that, sir.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I've actually reserved my right to speak.
If you'd have allowed me to finish, Councillor Golby, I would have called you because I knew you had reserved your right to speak. So I do have a proposal which has been seconded. I need to take advice. I think I only take the speaker the mover of the motion. Is that correct, Mr. Richardson?
And he spoke.
Yeah, just one moment, please. Thank you. Having taken advice, it is down to me to decide if I am satisfied that the matter has been discussed correctly, which I am so doing, and as it is a procedural motion, it immediately stops the debate on the amendment, so there is no further right to speak. So
Madam Mayor, it's sufficiently not correctly. There is a big difference. So do you think that 2 speeches is sufficient debate? Not correct, Madam Mayor.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. I am absolutely 100% certain that the debate is adequate. Thank you. So we will move to the vote. Thank you.
Recorded vote.
Excuse me, Councillor Evans, you are not allowed recorded votes on procedural motions.
You can, in accordance with the guidance.
No, you cannot. If you read 4.15.4c of the Constitution, it says no recorded vote on closure motions.
Well, if it's you who's written that advice, I'm not surprised.
Excuse me, Councillor Evans, please don't keep interrupting me. Will you take the vote, please, Simone?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If you could please indicate whether you're for or against the procedural motion, please. Councillor Beaumont.
Against.
Councillor.
Could we just move that? We are not voting on the amendment. We are voting on the motion to go to the vote on the amendment. Sorry, I should have made it more clear at the start of the meeting. Councillor, sorry, Simone, please.
Again. Okay. Just to clarify then, this is for or against the procedural motion to move to the vote. Councillor Beaumont.
For.
Councillor Brindley Edwards.
Blimey, how many times have you got to ask him to?
Against.
Sorry, could you just stop one moment? Who was then speaking? We're taking the vote. I'd rather if you just said for, against, or
can you get that?
rather than hold a conversation. Can you continue, please, Simone?
Councillor Brindley Edwards.
Against.
Councillor Brown.
Against.
Councillor Croft.
Against.
Councillor Daffin.
For.
Councillor Doherty.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Evans.
Against.
Councillor Gazane.
Against.
Councillor Glass.
For.
Councillor Golby.
Against.
Councillor Grant.
Against.
Councillor Gutteridge.
Against.
Councillor Hancock.
For.
Councillor Hocking. For. Councillor Jackson. Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Condacor.
We have to have debates. I'm against.
Councillor Welling-Nash.
Against. Could you just one moment? We've got to call please.
Something's happened because I can't hear a thing now.
Has somebody left their mic on? And somebody left their microphone on, and they've got the computer speakers on as well. It's feeding back into their mic.
Right, we'll try again. Councillor Lloyd.
Could you all make sure that your equipment is working fully, please? Could you proceed, please, Simon?
Sorry.
Could you proceed?
Councillor Lloyd.
Where did you get to, Simone?
Councillor Lloyd.
If that's
Go on.
Councillor Lloyd, you're muted.
I can't hear a thing.
Councillor Lloyd, we have with your Councillor, you put your thumb up if you are for or against. For or against.
Councillor Lloyd, for or against?
For.
Councillor Longden?
For.
Councillor Pandare?
Against.
Councillor Phillips? Councillor Phillips, you're muted. Councillor Phillips? I'll come back to you, Councillor Phillips. Councillor Pomfret?
For.
Councillor Phillips? For. Thank you. Yeah. Councillor Rudkin?
For.
Councillor A. Sargent?
For.
Against.
Councillor J. Sargent?
Against.
Councillor J. Shepherd? For. Councillor T. Shepherd? For. Councillor Smith?
Against.
Councillor Tandy? Councillor Tromans?
Against.
There's something
Councillor
up
Walmsley?
there, Simone. You've asked me 3 times. Councillor Phillips, I am for.
Yeah, I've got that noted, Councillor Phillips. Councillor Walmsley?
Against.
Councillor Watkins?
For.
Councillor Wilson?
Against, and request my vote be recorded in the minutes.
I've had to come back in, Simone, Councillor Rudkin. I was removed from the meeting. I've had to come back in.
Councillor Rudkin, I have noted your vote.
Oh, I didn't give a vote because I was
Oh.
removed from the meeting.
Councillor Rudkin, then, if you want to just confirm that again.
For.
Thank you.
You're muted, Madam Mayor.
That's what I'm here for. Okay, I'm back now. Okay, we're moving to the vote on the amendment.
Madam Mayor, I did put in the chat about a point of
Just
order.
one, okay, just one moment, please.
1717, so you need to cast your...
I have cast my vote. I said I was...
You were muted, June, so they didn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. I feel a bit like Councillor Lloyd. The mute button keeps coming and going. I will cast my vote in favour of moving to the vote. Thank you.
Can I call a recorded vote on the amendment, please, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Before we do that, can I actually raise my point of order that I put in the chat, please, about 10 minutes ago?
Moment, please. You've just written point of order, Councillor. I haven't got the wording of the point of order.
Yes, Madam Mayor, in accordance with 415.5, I request that my vote on that last vote be recorded on the basis that two speeches is not a debate.
Sorry, could you say that again? I couldn't hear very well.
Yes, absolutely. It is in accordance with section 4A, part 415.5, and I request that my vote be recorded on the under that base, my individual vote, on the basis that two speeches is not, by any form, a debate.
You can have, yeah, we will record your vote as requested. So we move to the vote on the
Point of order. I've got mine commented.
Was that not you who just said your point of order, Councillor Evans?
No, that was Councillor Walmsley.
Well, sorry, I don't see Councillor Walmsley and I don't have any hands for it. Thank you. What is your point of order, Councillor Evans?
On a point of order under the same article within the Constitution, I request that my vote is recorded in the minutes for the most recent recorded vote.
Okay, that will be done. So now, Councillor Simone, can we move to the recorded vote on the amendment, please? This is on the amendment moved by Councillor Wilson.
So again, for clarity, please indicate for or against the amendment as moved by Councillor Wilson. Councillor Beaumont.
Against.
Councillor Brindley Edwards.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Croft.
For.
Councillor Daffin.
Against.
Councillor Doughty.
Against.
Councillor Elliott.
Against.
Councillor Evans.
For.
Councillor Gazane.
For.
Councillor Glass.
Against.
Councillor Golby. Councillor Golby, could you just repeat that, please?
I'm for.
Councillor Graham.
For.
Councillor Gutteridge.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
Again.
Councillor Hocking.
Against.
Councillor Jackson.
Against.
Councillor Condacor.
Sorry,
Councillor-
can people mute? There's too many echoes.
Yeah, I think if everyone could mute while they're not speaking, that would be helpful. Councillor Condacor.
Thank you, that's better. I'm refusing to vote on the grounds that I wasn't allowed to debate and I want to nuance my vote. I would like it recorded that I chose not to vote. Thank you.
Abstain. Councillor Welling-Nash.
For.
Councillor Lloyd.
For. Sorry. Against.
Councillor Longden.
Against.
Councillor Pandare.
For.
Councillor Phillips. Councillor Phillips.
I don't know what I'm voting for or against. What am I voting for? or against?
We're voting in relation to the amendment, Councillor Phillips.
Against.
Councillor Pomfret.
Against.
Councillor Rudkin.
Against.
Councillor A. Sargent.
For.
Councillor J. Sargent.
For.
Councillor J. Shepherd.
Against.
Against.
Simone.
Councillor T. Shepherd.
Against.
Councillor Smith.
For.
Councillor Tanby.
Against.
Councillor Tromans.
For.
Councillor Walmsley.
For.
Councillor Watkins.
Against.
Councillor Wilson.
For.
Thank you. Right, the amendment was lost. So we will move back to discussion on the proposal that was made by Councillor Jackson. And before we left to discuss the amendment, I had Councillors Beaumont, Longden, Condacor and Glass down to speak. So all those who were speaking on the amendment, could you put your hands down, please? And those 4 people put their hands back on. If you're not going to put your hands down, I'll just use the list I've just mentioned. Councillor Beaumont.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
What? Yes.
I wanted to speak on the motion and I wanted to speak on the amendment. You didn't call me on the amendment. I'd like to be called on the substantive motion, please.
There is no substantive motion because the amendment was lost.
No, that's the point. I want to speak on the original motion.
Well,
I was denied an opportunity to speak on.
I've just said I have just said that I still have 8 hands showing in front that were going to speak, that wanted to speak on the amendment. Please put your hands down now. All of you put your hands down now, and then you can put your other than the 4 I'd already got, so that I know who wants to speak on the proposal.
With respect, Madam Mayor, that's not what you said originally, but I'm happy to lower my hand and raise it again.
Well, that was the essence of what I was trying to say.
I'm afraid it wasn't, but I'll now raise my hand again.
Whatever you choose to think, Councillor Brown. Right, we will resume the proposal. Councillor Beaumont.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This proposal, which I think is eminently sensible in the face of a county council who have decided to act unilaterally and approach the Minister of State for a unitary authority, the best way forward for this council, and I suspect for all district councils, because it is the death knell of this council if the Conservative proposal at county goes through, and it happens without consultation, without any public participation. I think it's an absolute nonsense, the approach that the county have taken. It is obviously the way forward is very sensible. It explores options and gives everyone a chance to have a say before there is a conclusion to the process of deciding what should be done in the face of this white paper, which is, again, as others have mentioned, has only just been published. So this is an excellent way forward. I fully support what our leader has said. And quite frankly, Madam Mayor, I think we should, in the face of the attitude to the previous votes we've had tonight, I think we should formally move to the vote on this proposal. Thank you. Can I have a seconder?
Is there a seconder for that proposal, please?
I'll second that, Chair. Councillor Popham.
Okay. Well, therefore, then we will move to the vote on the proposal to.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. You need to rule to say that sufficient.
Okay. I agree that there has been adequate debate on this item. So
point of order, Mayor. I haven't been able to speak on either one. This is not sufficient debate. If we have this chaotic situation where we just do not discuss stuff, this council should be scrapped. This should be a talking shop where we discuss things. And if you do not let us speak in debates, this council should be scrapped.
Here.
Madam Mayor, may I respectfully ask that you seek legal advice on this before making a decision?
If you allow this, Madam Mayor, there's more debate in Zimbabwe than there is in the Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council.
King Jong-un.
Or in Warwickshire County Council.
Well, no,
if we're not allowed to debate, there'll be more debate at county than there is here.
Yeah. If members aren't allowed to debate and actually get our points across, then why are we even turning up to a Teams meeting? Why don't you just do this behind closed doors?
What, like the borough plan hearings?
Exactly, yeah. We need a debate.
Can I adjourn this meeting and let the leaders discuss how we can debate this? So I propose an adjournment.
It's all the twin actors having a go, isn't it? Don't like it, do you?
I'd love to have a go, but no one will let me speak.
You just don't want debate, Longdon, like everyone else on your side.
That's a positive then, as far as I can see.
Madam Mayor, you've been muted. Madam Mayor, you've been muted.
Oh, I love the responses from Barry Longdon. They're brilliant.
Yeah, Councillor Longdon, the voice of insanity.
Yeah, time to call in the commissioner. Have
you all finished?
Madam Mayor, may I be
allowed to talk yet, Madam Mayor?
Madam Mayor, may I make a proposal, please?
Madam Mayor, you've been muted.
Don't know what's going on.
I have been muted again, so someone else is muting me because I wasn't anywhere near the computer. So I please.
Madam Mayor, this is ridiculous. Somebody's playing around with the IT and then the opposition.
Could you just hold on one moment, please?
Madam Mayor, you are on mute again.
Can't hear you, Madam Mayor. You're muted.
This is crazy.
Right, I'm now unmuted.
Madam Mayor.
This is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Somebody is muting you on purpose.
Well, for so long as she's muting everyone else, she deserves to be muted.
Yeah.
Could I just speak? I think members of the general public watching this going on are going to be absolutely shocked.
They will, yeah.
There are people.
Not for the reasons you're thinking.
Could I finish my sentence?
I agree.
I am quite.
Could you mute everybody?
Mixed feelings about being a councillor and being associated.
No debate.
Could I suggest, as the mayor is unable to speak, can I suggest that the mayor would like to take a 5-minute adjournment? So I'm speaking on behalf of the mayor to take a 5-minute adjournment, please.
That needs to be moved and seconded, Simone.
And you can't speak on behalf of the mayor.
Oh, for goodness.
Madam Mayor, can I move that we adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes? So you can...
Seconded.
Object.
We need a vote on it at least.
I need to see.
Are we allowed to discuss it or?
It's still being transmitted, so I wouldn't discuss it.
No.
I agree with Gwyn though. I mean, it is ridiculous. We can't debate on anything. So it's nice to see you back in, obviously, debate instead of just roaring with your team.
It's a shame it doesn't get backed when it comes to the vote for shutting down the meeting, though.
No.
The irony is we're trying to discuss a motion about discussing things. I mean, how ridiculous.
Yeah, for the benefit of any unfortunate members of the public watching and trying to listen out there, we seem to be in a nowhere situation where the mayor has gone offline, hasn't taken a vote on stopping the meeting, but is quite content to try and stop actually any debate. So I'll sign off for a little while until we come back on this.
Yeah.
That's totally untrue. She couldn't do anything about the technology. Somebody's messing deliberately. Now, I want an investigation into that by the IT department and the police if necessary. And we'll find out who's doing it and we'll get to the bottom of it, because I have my suspicions that it's going to get sorted one way or another.
Is that a confession by you, Miss Councillor Long?
No, it's not a confession at all, you idiot.
Who's burned down
That's a bit personal. I think that obviously the issue is, or the investigation is about we're not allowing debate.
Can I suggest, if the
the
deputy mayor is available, that the deputy mayor take over the chairing of the meeting temporarily to allow an adjournment? Or otherwise?
I'd actually like to make a proposal, but the meeting just seems to have gone into chaos.
Without a chair, you can't move anything.
Yeah.
Unless we live in Catalonia, of course.
I'm happy for the meeting to be adjourned for a few minutes.
could take a comfort break.
Maneuvering.
Are we on a break?
Well, it looks like
Okay, thank you. Right, welcome back to the meeting. I believe that the live streaming is now back on, and excuse me, and the decision I have made in relation to the taking the vote, moving the vote, is that I've already had 2 speakers, Councillor Beaumont and Councillor Glass. I will take 3 further speakers and then we will move to the vote. Councillor Condacor.
Chair, I've put my hand up to speak on this motion. It's my democratic right. I want to speak.
I have ruled that I will take 3. I'm not going to go back into the session that we've just...
Fine. Point of order. In accordance with the Constitution, I wish to move a motion without notice. I move that this council, Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council, no longer has confidence in the Mayor of Nuneaton and Bedworth, Councillor June Tandy. And I formally propose.
Actually, you can't formally propose that, Councillor Evans. It's outside of the Constitution. You cannot remove me from my office, Councillor Evans.
I am the Senate.
Okay, I can quote the Constitution, Madam Mayor. In accordance 4A.12, motions without notice. The following motions may be moved without notice. A, to appoint a new chair of the meeting at which the motion is moved. Therefore, I wish to move in accordance with the Constitution that Councillor Damon Brown be appointed as chair of this meeting.
Seconded.
Happy to second that.
Yeah, second. Can we have a recorded vote on that as well, please?
Yes.
I will not allow you to keep getting away with this. I've now got 3 emails in my Outlook box from residents who want to hear my opinion. Let me speak.
The irony is you released a press release last week.
Look, if you want to, now look, I am not going to go back. And you can laugh as much as you like, Councillor Golby. We are not going back to the sort of problem that we had a little while ago. The technology has now been changed, so you can't mute me. And I can also see you think it gets extremely funny, Councillor Brown. Mr. Richardson, could you give advice, please, on Councillor Evans' motion? Yeah. You want me to mute? Yeah.
You can just clarify the Constitution 4A.12, motions without notice. The following motions may be moved without notice. A, to appoint a chair of the meeting at which the motion is moved. So, as I say, I'm proposing Councillor Damon Brown to chair because you're not capable of doing it anymore. Sorry.
And I seconded it.
I'm unmuted. Right. I have taken advice from Mr. Richardson. The motion that you have proposed is unlawful. Councillor Evans.
You're just making up the rules as you go along. Let me tell you now, I'm contacting the Secretary of State tomorrow, and I'm going to request that the commissioners come in to rule this council and to run the council because it's ridiculous, absolutely farcical.
Have you finished, Councillor Evans?
No, actually, I'm going to speak on the motion, whether you like it or not. So, I'm going to be speaking in favour of the against the motion, which has been proposed by Councillor Jackson. And I'm going to read my speech now. I believe it's absolutely right that members of the council are reminded that just 10 months ago, the government was re-elected with a landslide majority. The largest majority given to a government since 2000. I'm talking, Councillor Lloyd, you're not.
No, you're not. You're out of order. Can I speak, Madam Mayor?
In Bedworth, our local Member of Parliament, Craig Tracy, was re-elected with the biggest mandate ever given to an MP in the history of the constituency. The people re-elected the government on a manifesto that promised to bring about more devolution to English local government, and the first step in delivering this was through a white paper, which is scheduled to be released soon. That is why the county council is doing what it's done, because it's responding to the government's white paper. As a Conservative, I'm massively in favour of small government where possible, and I've always supported the idea of unitary authorities. When I deal with day-to-day casework, one of my biggest problems is trying to go between the county council and the borough council to try and establish, who owns a shrub that needs trimming back, who owns this small piece of road which, where a pothole needs filling in. And actually, it would be far more accountable if we had one unitary authority in across Nuneaton and Bedworth to deal with these issues. And actually, instead of Councillor Jackson saying, "Oh, it's the county council's fault," actually, what we've got now is a proposal to bring in more accountability for local government. And I've engaged with my local residents on this issue, and they are absolutely fed up of this council, from the borough plan to the millions which have been squandered on the Civic Hall. My residents in Bedworth, they want a fresh start. They want this council to be abolished, and they want a new council to come in with a new leadership, a new vision to change the borough. And actually, one of the things that people constantly talk to me about in Bedworth is the prospect of there being a town council.
Yes.
And actually, under the plans which are being put forward, there's a possibility that there may be a town council for Bedworth, which has more devolved powers on matters regarding planning, etc. So Bedworth people can have a say on Bedworth matters, rather than being run by a Nuneaton cabinet with 5 Labour councillors who all represent Nuneaton wards, who have absolutely, clearly nothing to do with Bedworth. And the other thing as well is just the sheer hypocrisy I hear from Councillor Jackson and Councillor Lloyd, as Councillor Wilson has alluded to. He's had it on good authority that the leader of the council went to Coventry City Council to discuss merging this borough into Coventry. That is what Councillor Wilson stated. And you're asking councillors to vote for this motion, which criticises the county council for allegedly doing that. Well, shame on you for moving this, because you didn't consult Councillor Jackson with us here at full council before you toddled off to Coventry, just so you could probably, get yourself a nice position in their cabinet if the borough was merged into Coventry. So, I was tempted actually to abstain on this, but given how you've handled this tonight, no way am I siding with you on this. I'm voting against.
Yeah.
Have you quite finished, Councillor Evans?
Yes, and if you just listened to us in the first place, we'd be done by now.
Councillor Evans, would you please now be quiet? Councillor Condacore.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. It is nice to finally get a chance to talk. There is merit in bits of the Labour proposal. This is being done at great haste, and there's considerable merit in a lot of the Conservative amendments. There is an awful lot of points in there that I really agree with, particularly having action on climate change, having clear accountability. And today's been a classic example of that, as I try and get this new school in Wellington, the Lower Farm School, to be progressed, to actually get someone to sort out all the planning issues. And having one council rather than a county council and a borough, each holding emails and delaying things, would be superb. However, I do not want a move of power to the south, a move of jobs to the south. When we do a new structure for local government, the centre of gravity needs to move north to equal up the agenda. You can do that by having 2 unitaries, or you can do it by having 1 unitary that is substantially based far more in Nuneaton, Bedworth, North Warwickshire. There is lots of ways of changing local government, but it's desperately needed. Today has been a classic example of a unbelievably bad meeting after yet another unbelievably bad meeting. We've got planning reforms. We need them discussed properly and grown up, not cutting debates short. And I'm really passionate about good democracy. So we need to ask the public, either via a referendum or a citizen assembly, as to how they would like local government to work. One option is to have lots of small parish councils. Yeah, we could have Wellington St Nicholas as a parish council, looking after the open spaces, looking after local issues, whilst we have a big unitary doing waste and education and social care. There's lots of different models. We could merge in with Hinckley and have an A5 type smaller unitary, but we need it debated properly in a grown-up way with proper accounts saying what each option costs, and not accounts driven from one view or another, independent accounts. We mustn't forget housing, because we're a big owner of housing. We can't just think about our general fund. We need to think about the whole working of the council, and we really need to think about the public, which is why I was going to propose an amendment to the Conservatives motion, but I'll propose it to this one, that actually any reform must be put to the public either via some form of referendum or via a citizens' assembly. So that's my amendment, that any reform must be put to the public via some form of referendum or citizens' assembly, and I hope someone else will second me in that. I really wish we could have had a pre-meeting and taken bits out of both the Conservatives and the Labour motions, because there has been too much rush. There is a lot of things that haven't been sorted yet, so there is merit in parts of what Labour said. And there's an awful lot of merit in what the Conservative motion says, particularly streamlining climate change, etc. And it's really sad this has become polarised rather than a sensible motion to say, let's take our time, let's properly consult with the public, and let's have a format of local government where there's clear lines of responsibility, clear localisation, and we keep the jobs in the north. I do not want to go in with a county and a big unitary if it means hundreds of job losses in the north of the county and a shift of power. So at the moment, there's no good option, and I want there to be. This is why a citizens' assembly or referendum will make both sides of the arguments actually give a better offer. They must codify what a unitary means or codify what enhanced two-tier means. And we can actually then independently go through the options. I do not have a view as to whether we go unitary or enhanced two-tier or two unitaries. I want to see the details of how many jobs, where authority rise, and the structure of local government. I'm glad to be able to have this chance to talk, and I will not be supporting the Labour motion because of the antics over not allowing us to speak. But I do hope that someone actually backs my amendment, because a citizens' assembly will be really useful. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I will second that amendment and want to speak on it.
Excuse me, could you let me speak first? Is there a seconder for Councillor Condacor's amendment?
I'll second that, and I'd like to speak on the amendment, please, Madam Mayor.
Who was that?
Councillor Wilson.
Councillor Wilson. Right, so you have seconded that. So we have a second amendment. You're seconding it. We now go back to the previous situation. Just one moment. Whereby if anyone was speaking to the proposal, they now need to put their hands down, please. And anyone wishing to speak to the amendment, please put your hands up now when the other hands have been taken down. Oh, for heaven's sake.
God. You're not on mute, Madam Mayor. We can hear you saying,
oh, for
God's sake.
I know I'm not on mute, but I am becoming quite tired of this process. Right. Thank you. Before Councillor Jackson.
Madam Mayor, I believe I'm the last speaker if you move me now. Can you clarify that? Because I'm the mover of the...
Pardon?
Councillor Jackson has the resolution motion as the right to be quiet but cannot speak on
Right. I'm told, Councillor Jackson, that you can't speak on the amendment himself because you have the right to reply on the proposal.
As seconder, am I allowed to speak, Madam Mayor?
Just one moment. I'm trying to sort the technology out.
Thank you.
Councillor Walmsley, this is on the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and third time lucky, hey. I want to actually speak in support of Councillor Condacor's amendment. Whilst I certainly don't think the idea of referenda continuing is a particularly good idea in and of themselves, I think that what they do is, you know, this emotion goes some way to, in a sense, polish a turd of emotion that we've got, the substantive motion, and this at least makes it somewhat more palatable for us this evening. On the motion as amended by Councillor Condacor, I have to say the idea of actually consulting is something I absolutely agree with and believe in. And what I would like to actually see happen, and what I would like to see is that we do have the public involved, because that's exactly what we need to have. We are going to have a system here whereby this could be in place for a few decades. You know, how long has Warwickshire as an authority existed in some shape or form? I think we can go right back to sort of Middle Ages and the creation of counties. So, you know, these principles will be around and will far outlive, well, certainly most of the Labour side, and potentially probably some of our side as well. And I think we need to be very careful here, and we have to strike a balance. Now, what we don't want to see is we don't want to see a rush into any particular direction. And I think actually the main part of the motion that is to us now, I don't think it does seem to rush. I think it doesn't necessarily relate to what the Cabinet reports are at Shire Hall and what the motion is at Shire Hall coming to their full county next week. And I'm not sure whether, I know I have, and I believe all my colleagues on my side have, but I'm not sure whether Labour members opposite have read that, and I certainly don't know whether or not Councillor Condacor has read that motion coming to Shire Hall full county. But it does not look to drive headlong. It actually looks to take a chance to propose, to seek to do that. And I think it's very important we hear the views of residents, because I'm forever contacted, I have to say, forever contacted about the shoddiness of this authority so far and the way these meetings are run. And this is not just meetings over Teams here and electronic meetings. This is meetings that's been going on for a long time. This is systemic problems within the authority, and frankly dross from top to bottom. And I think this tonight has made the mind in the public, and I think it's very, very, very important that Councillor Condacor has made this motion tonight, this amendment tonight, because I think actually, if anything, it makes the abolition of NBBC far more likely, because we don't have anything like grown-up debate here. We have the Constitution being made up on the hoof, as always, and I really think that actually that an amendment like this to allow the public to have their say, I think really would not only be democratic, unlike this chamber, but actually would hopefully put the final nail in the coffin of NBBC. That's all I have to say on the amendment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. One moment, please. Okay. Councillor Wilson, I'm sorry, my technology has gone up the Swanee again. Councillor Wilson, I'm told. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to support the motion because it would probably give us more of a inkling about what the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth want than the current consultation which is being undertaken by this council. As I understand it, from what I have been told, there are no substantive documents going out with the consultation comparing finances and setups and what the actual reality of one unitary versus two unitary would be. And I think that is essential for any debate. And I think if this amendment is passed, it would be absolutely vital that we release that information and compare what the financial implications and all the service level implications would be. Whereas what the main motion doesn't do that at all. And actually, we are fooling the residents with this motion because it is factually incorrect. Because Councillor Jackson, when she opened the main debate, said, and I quote because I wrote this down, "Make sure what you're doing is factually correct." Well, to withdraw the proposals and begin a full, open and transparent discussion on the future of local government, that is in the county motion. There will be a consultation. So Councillor Jackson has got that wrong. No facts. Council believes the status quo has been put at risk by the county council's plan. Not true. She's misled the public again. That is actually Warwick and Stratford who opened that debate by proposing that those two merged. And yet she is quite happy now to stand there and have her photo taken with them and yet misdirect the blame on what's going on to other people. Again, hypocrisy from the leader of the council. And then to say that council therefore resolves to continue to work with the districts and boroughs. No mention of working with the county. So you'll be just as guilty with this motion as what you are accusing the county of. It's sheer hypocrisy. And I think if we were to put this to a people's vote or a people's assembly, if you actually point out what this council has done, because Councillor Jackson was very happy to try and compare the county council's Conservative record, let's look at Labour's record after 45 years in control. Town centres on their knees because of what they have done to Nuneaton and Bedworth. And yet it is the county council which alone are putting £20 million into a new library and technology startup centre. Civic Hall, which Councillor Lloyd says is supposed to be a business. It's never operated as a business in its life. It costs us £800,000 a year to run under them. And if we look at the climbing wall fiasco, costing, what was it, £44? Councillor Jackson, we need to highlight these issues, Madam Mayor, because this is what the residents need to see.
Councillor Wilson, you are not speaking to the amendment. Please do so.
I am speaking to the amendment, Madam Mayor, because if there is to be a referendum or a vote with the public, they need to be able to compare and contrast the actual histories and track records of the council. You only have to look at planning at this council to know how untrusted this authority is and how disjointed it is. Whereas actually, if there was some kind of unitary on the table, you might actually get some joined up thinking on planning and transport and health and education and all the things which are so vital to ensuring that new developments are actually viable and sustainable. If you compare and contrast the track record of this authority at a referendum or People's Assembly or some kind of consultation, Councillor Jackson wanted to put the county's alleged track record on the line. Well, let's look at her party's and your party, Madam Mayor's, track record at running this authority. There were only 2 years of Conservative control here, so you can't blame everything on the Conservatives around here. You've had 45 years in control. Let the people actually have a well-informed debate and decision about where we want to go. At least the council the county council is proposing to have that consultation. What we are having here is a sham consultation, and what this amendment does tonight, which I think Councillor Condacor, whilst I have reservations about it, I think it is more constructive than the phony motion that we have on the table before us tonight. So I will certainly support that amendment on that basis, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. What we've just witnessed tonight is horrific, rude and disrespectful. But anyway, I believe it's been Councillor Seckham's plan to rule over the whole of Warwickshire for some time now. It was alarming enough when her husband was given the role of Police and Crime Commissioner in Warwickshire. But last time I looked, we were still a democracy. So rather than dictating what happens from Warwickshire in our towns, or more than likely fails to happen, unless of course it's to our detriment, such as giving us a giant incinerator. And I seem to remember that Councillor Condacor's first forays into local politics were in opposing Warwickshire County Council and trying to give us a gigantic incinerator. But anyway, instead of Councillor Seckham deciding what happens from her ivory tower in South Warwickshire, why doesn't she ask our residents here rather than dictating from afar? And perhaps they do want to be dictated to from afar, but that is actually what we are asking for at this stage. So rather than railroading us into a unitary authority with these deeply concerning plans that Warwickshire County Council have come up with, let us find out what is actually in the best interests of the residents. And so I think that I'm happy to support this amendment, whether it's a referendum, but certainly wide consultation with the people, which is what we are asking for. So basically it is supporting our original motion. So I think I'm happy to support it and suggest that we go to the vote now. I think we've had enough debate. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. I have a proposal to go to the vote. Is that seconded?
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Beaumont. I am prepared to allow 1, 2, 3, 4 more speakers before we go to the vote. Councillor Hancock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I would just ask you to consider whether this amendment is valid or not. It seems to me that it has the same effect as the last couple of lines within the original motion, where it mentions public consultation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I will ask advice on that, on the point that you have just made, Councillor Hancock.
Deleting as well as adding.
Okay. Councillor Condacor, can I ask you a question? The amendment that you have moved, is it a standalone amendment or are you adding it to the proposal or the first amendment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was wanting this to be added to the end of the, because I said add this onto the end. So this is an additional thing. So the original motion stands whether we like it or not, but this is actually adding on. And the point was it was a referendum rather than a consultation. So that actually the public get a yes or no or option A or option B. So it's a freestanding thing, but it's on the end of the existing motion. So it doesn't negate it. It's actually clearly saying we're going to have a referendum.
On the end of the motion, of the proposal, or
on the end of the original
proposal,
the original motion by the Labour group.
Councillor Jackson. So it's an addition to the Councillor Jackson's proposal.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clearing that up, Councillor Condacor. Councillor Lloyd.
Chair, I'm happy for debate to continue. I'll give way.
Thank you. Councillor Golby.
Thank you, Chair. It's good to actually be able to speak on this. I'm really at a loss. I'm at a loss. What is going on? You've got the gall to criticise other councils when this is what we have to show our residents. I would actually support having greater input from our residents. I would absolutely support that, because I feel that they need to be able to see this and have a voice and realise that you couldn't run a meeting. So giving you their children's education is probably not going to be the best thing for them. This suits me fine. I'd also like to support it based on the fact that it's actually in the County Council's PwC document. If anybody's bothered to read page 56, it does actually say how we will engage with partners around structural change, and then goes on to say, in addition to the existing 6 councils working together to frame specific proposals for change, there will be a series of engagements with our key partners and the public to gather feedback on the future model of local government in Warwickshire. So this is something that your motion, the main motion, actually wants the council to reject at Warwickshire County Council. So you want them to reject asking the residents their view. And the irony of the fact that you won't even let us debate allowing residents to have their view should not be lost on anybody at all. To point out about the ivory towers and the Mr. Second being the Police and Crime Commissioner, he was actually elected. It's called democracy. So I believe he beat Councillor Jackson to that post. So maybe that's got something to do with your comments, maybe not. And also to point out about everybody's being ruled from Warwick. Well, actually, there are 54 county councillors, just the same as there are a wide variety of borough councillors. Every area has their own representative. I don't physically need to sit in Warwick to make decisions. I still represent my area when I do sit in Warwick. I am, for all intents and purposes, already a unitary councillor because I sit on both councils. So again, that should not be lost on any of the public. I can also say that having a single point of contact for some people has made their lives a lot easier, because I can go to one council or the other. I don't have to jump through hoops. So, you know, unitary is not all bad. It really isn't. But I think we all need to see the evidence, and we need to see all of the evidence. And I think you need to stop procrastinating and trying with the smoke and mirrors, and actually start getting on board with the fact that the government was elected on a manifesto of local government change. Warwick and Stratford have started the process. Stratford and the districts have started the process, not the county council. The county council have just produced their document first. When the borough councils get their act together and get their documents out, I will, of course, scrutinise those and come up with something that I believe is a reasonable proposal for the residents, and the residents will also be asked. I just can't see how you've got the audacity to do this, because you criticise everybody, and yet look at the state of this meeting where you will not let people speak. That is not democracy. You don't want democracy. And the problem is you're fighting against people having a democratic view, because there's a good chance that it will increase your chance of not being where you are after they've had that view. And I'd like to point out something that Councillor Walmsley said about you can't polish a turd. Well, you can't, but you lot are trying to roll it in glitter and tell everybody it's something else, and it's still a turd, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Golby. Let's be clear, we are currently discussing, I have one more speaker, Councillor Jackson. We are currently discussing whether or not Councillor Condacor's amendment can be added to the original motion. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Condacor's minor amendment, that we add the wording he put into chat onto the end of the motion that I've proposed, I see that as a friendly amendment, Madam Mayor. I think I just want, though, in saying that, to clear up some of the inaccuracies that have been said during this meeting. There has never been a council decision to join with Coventry. I have it on very good authority that Councillor Wilson has had private meetings with leaders across Warwickshire. Perhaps he'd like to tell us what he said in those meetings. I want to await our report, the District Council's report, looking at all options and not that of just one authority, i.e. Warwickshire County Council, who appear to me to have already determined that they have one direction of travel. And it is a shame, Madam Mayor, I've seen tonight, the published agenda for North Warwickshire Borough Council, who actually are taking exactly the same amendment under their Conservative leader to North Warwickshire's meeting next week, which is being seconded by, as I understand it, the Leader of the Opposition. Why can we not work together in the best interests of the residents of Nuneaton and Bedworth? My original proposal said we needed detailed consultation. So on that note, Madam Mayor, I accept what I consider a very friendly amendment from Councillor Condacor, and I will be voting for that amendment, Madam Mayor.
Right.
Point of personal explanation.
Sorry, who was that?
Councillor Evans.
Councillor Evans. Personal, carry on.
Yeah, so if you read the Constitution, there is something called a point of personal explanation that councillors can ask.
Well, I've just asked you to make it.
Okay, you didn't really understand what you were on about, but okay.
Councillor Evans.
So, yes, in response to Councillor Jackson's points, yes, I'm sure the Conservatives in North Warwickshire will propose this. The reality is that Councillor Wright didn't toddle off to Coventry City Council to discuss merging North Warwickshire into Coventry, did he?
Councillor Evans, this is
Madam Mayor, he's not making a point of personal explanation, he's making another speech.
Could you excuse me, please? Councillor Evans, you are not making a point of personal information. You are having a debate on the issue. So either make your point of personal information or cease to speak.
I'll say again, Madam Mayor. Councillor Wright is proposing what he's doing in North Warwickshire. He's not the one who toddled off to Coventry City Council. He's not the one who's being a hypocrite.
That's not a point of personal explanation there.
Councillor Evans, this is not a point of personal information. A point of personal information is when you wish to possibly correct something that another person has said. We are not having a debate. You will make a point of personal information as you should.
There's no such thing as a point of personal information. It's called point of personal explanation. Read the Constitution.
It's a point of personal information, not explanation, Councillor Evans.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Read the Constitution. It says on page 5, point of personal explanation. Points of order and points of explanation can only be raised in accordance with the council procedure rules, which are set out below. Get to know the Constitution, because you clearly don't know it.
Throughout the rest of this meeting, I may have to take action because I am not going to constantly being interrupted by you. It is a point of personal information, not a point of personal explanation. Now, please state your point of personal information.
I can't do that because there's no such thing as a point of personal information, Madam Mayor.
Can we have some legal advice on this?
Madam Mayor.
Read it. It's on page 8.
Madam Mayor,
sorry, page 6.
Move on with the business, please.
Page 6. Point of personal explanation, not information. Explanation. Two very different words, Madam Mayor. You've been a councillor, haven't you, since the 80s?
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
I don't want to be associated with this sort of speech from anybody, anywhere. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Right. It states, points of personal explanation are permitted, and you should use the chat facility within MS Teams in order to alert the chair that you wish to make a point of personal explanation.
Thank you for confirming that I was correct.
Right, if we could move on then, please.
In that case, Madam Mayor, can I again try and move my point of order that I raised on chat at 8 o'clock and that I tried to interject verbally before the last debate? Please, can I now have my point of order heard?
Yes, I'll hear it, but I am just about to move to the vote on whether or not we add Councillor Condacor's resolution to the original. Well, hang on, Councillor Tromans, please. I will then be going to the vote on the proposal that Councillor Condacor's proposal is added to Councillor Jackson's original motion. Councillor Tromans.
Thank you. Okay. So, as it says there, point of order under section 4A.12 brackets D. I would like to propose that we refer something to another body. I would like to propose the following motion. It is resolved that the Council is incapable of holding a reasonable debate or even a meeting in accordance with the Council's constitution, and that accordingly the Chief Officers should contact the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government to request that the Commissioners be appointed to take over the running of the Council until the next elections. I regret having to move such a motion, but after making it quite clear that I wanted to speak on the original motion, then on the amendment, and being denied both times, I'm sorry, with everything else that's happened tonight, I feel compelled to move that motion, that we refer to another body.
Just one moment, please, Councillor Troman. Okay, I'm muted.
You're not muted, June.
Madam Mayor, you're not muted.
God's sakes. We could have had the debate by now. This is ridiculous.
For your patience whilst sorry, is there a seconder for Councillor Troman's proposal?
Seconded, Councillor Evans.
Seconded.
Thank you. So we will move to a vote on Councillor Troman's proposal.
I wish to speak on the motion.
As do I.
Come on, somebody tell me. It's not a closure motion. So it's got to be debated then.
I think, Madam Mayor, so mute.
I was muted. It's muted now. Someone's unmuting me again.
Somebody's messing with it.
Somebody's unmuting me again, Philip. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to continue this meeting while people are playing about with the tech.
Substantive motion, and then Councillor Tromans could move it as an amendment. I take the point, it is, you don't need to give notice, but I don't think you can just move it at any point in the meeting.
Right. In respect of Councillor Tromans' motion, before I can take Councillor Tromans' motion, I have to take the vote on the proposal to add Councillor Condacor's comment onto the original motion. That will then become a substantive motion, at which point we can hear Councillor Tromans' proposal.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Thank you for clarifying that. Much appreciated. However, I would just point out that my interjection is dated at 7:35, and that my attempts to raise points of order when I couldn't get that in.
I think one of the reasons why your point of order wasn't taken was because everyone started yelling and shouting, and because my microphone was constantly being muted.
Understood, Madam Mayor, and I appreciate that, but it doesn't change the fact that I've got. I could not take any speakers whilst the meeting was, while members in the meeting were behaving as they were. This is another way forward, Councillor Tromans. Your motion will be heard, but firstly, I need to take the vote, as has been asked for a while ago, I believe by Councillor Elliott, on the proposal that adds Councillor Condacor's words to the original proposal.
Madam Mayor, I did indicate a point of personal explanation on the chat.
Yeah, if you look at the chat, it does say that it clearly shows that I raised my motion. And
Councillor Tromans, I am aware that. I am aware of that, and you have had the explanation as to why it wasn't dealt with immediately.
And I accept that, and I'm quite happy, Madam Mayor. It's just now that I appreciate you couldn't because of background noise or whatever, but the fact is the chat shows that
at the end of the day, Councillor Tromans, I cannot take a notice of motion whilst we are discussing an amendment.
I put my notice of motion in before Councillor Condacor moved his amendment.
Councillor Tromans, I have told you what my ruling is on this. We are going to go to the vote on Councillor Condacor's proposal, where it will be added to, which seems to have cross-party support, which will be added to the proposal, and then I will take your notice of motion. So we will move to the vote, please, on the notice of motion.
Madam Mayor, I did indicate a point of personal explanation. It's Councillor Wilson.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not taking any more chat back. I am going to move to the vote on that proposal.
I've put it in the chat as per the rules, Madam Mayor.
Take the vote, please.
Madam Mayor, can we have the motion read out before we vote, please? I've sat here very patiently with my hand raised. I would like to ask, can you read the motion out that we are going to vote?
Councillor Guttridge, the motion is as written in the agenda papers.
Can we have can we have the piece that Keith Condacor, Councillor Condacor has?
You can. If that is what you want, that's fine.
Can we have that, please?
Simone, can you read the part that Councillor Condacor is adding, please?
Bear with me one moment. So the amendment that Councillor Condacor wishes to add is that any reform must be put to the public via either some form of referendum or to citizens' assembly.
Madam Mayor, at 2032 in the group chat, I asked for a point of personal explanation, which is in accordance with the virtual proceeding rules. Are you telling me that you are ignoring the rules and refusing to hear my point of personal explanation?
Councillor Evans, please.
It's Councillor Wilson, actually, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Evans,
it's Councillor Wilson. Please chastise the right person.
Sorry, I can't see who is speaking on the on my screen.
I have indicated in the chat at 2032, in accordance with the virtual meeting protocol, to raise a point of personal explanation. Will you hear that in accordance with the Constitution?
I hear you now. I thought it. Well, I didn't realise it was you, Councillor Wilson, because I cannot see your picture on my screen. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to respond to the point made by Councillor Jackson, where she referenced me specifically having meetings with other leaders across the county and the borough. That is quite true, and I would like to put that on the record. I've had meetings with borough and Conservative leaders, which appears to be more than Councillor Jackson has done. However, I can also confirm I have never ever had a meeting with any member of Coventry City Council and discussed merging Nuneaton and Bedworth with them. Can Councillor Jackson please confirm the same?
That is your personal, it does not require an answer. It is a personal explanation, Councillor Wilson. I'm now moving to the vote, as you know, which is the addition of Councillor Condacor's words to the original motion. Simone, can you take the vote, please? Pardon?
The best is yet to come.
It's okay you keep laughing, but the technology is really letting me down badly, and it isn't me either. Before you start saying
David, I can hear
you.
Madam Mayor, can we hear the motion again?
Could you tell me what is in the chat? I can't get the chat up, Councillor Simone. Councillor Jackson, you wish to raise a procedural point.
Madam Mayor, I do. I think the behaviours being exhibited tonight are not helpful to actually the democratic process. And if members keep interrupting and speaking over the mayor, I think you should consider moving that they be heard no further.
That had occurred to me, Councillor Jackson, but in the meantime, can you take the vote, please, Simone? This is on the motion to include the amendment to include Councillor Condacor's words onto the original motion.
Point of order.
What is your point of order?
I believe it was actually proposed by Councillor Elliott and seconded by Councillor Beaumont that we have a procedural motion on whether to move to the vote. Are you just overriding that? Or?
Yeah, we did. And I am moving to the vote. And I am moving to the vote on the proposal on the words from Councillor Condacor to be added to the original motion. Simone, will you take the vote, please?
Okay. To clarify, then, this is a vote on adding the amendment proposed by Councillor Condacor to the substantive motion. Councillor Beaumont, please indicate for or against the amendment.
For.
Councillor Brindley-Edwards.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Croft.
For.
Councillor Daffin.
For.
Councillor Doughty.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Evans.
For.
Councillor Gazane.
For.
Councillor Glass.
For.
Councillor Golby.
For.
Councillor Graham.
For.
Councillor Gutteridge.
For.
Councillor Hancock.
For.
Councillor Hocking. For. Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Condacor.
For.
Councillor Llewellyn-Nash.
For.
Councillor Lloyd.
For.
Councillor Longdon.
For.
Councillor Panday.
For.
Councillor Phillips. Councillor Phillips. I'll come back to you, Councillor Phillips. Councillor Pomfret.
For.
Councillor Rudkin.
For.
Councillor A. Sargent.
For.
Councillor J. Sargent.
For.
Councillor Joe Shepherd.
For.
T. Shepherd.
I think Councillor Phillips has just said that.
Councillor Phillips.
Carry on.
Councillor Smith.
For.
Councillor Tandy.
For.
Councillor Tromans.
I'm exercising my right not to vote.
Abstain. Councillor Walmsley.
For.
Councillor Watkins.
For.
Councillor Wilson.
For. For.
That's carried.
That is carried. Thank you. So we move to the that now becomes a substantive motion. Just one moment, please. Sorry, I can't hear you. Right. Just one moment, please. Simone, you're going to have to do the chat for me because it's just not coming up whenever I just can't get it up. Right.
You're unmuted. Yeah.
Madam Mayor, as it's
Oh, hang on a minute. I'm back. Councillor Condacor, you wish to move a motion to extend standing orders, I believe.
Yes, thank you. I didn't want this debate to be lost, so I move that we extend the meeting past 3 hours to continue the existing business.
Have you?
could I suggest that we extend standing orders till suspend standing orders till 9:30?
Does that meet with your approval, Councillor Condacor?
If that will get all our business done, yes, go and try that for now.
Well, we can try to get all our business done. So we'll take a vote on the proposal to extend standing orders till 9:30. Okay, Simone, could you take a vote on that, please?
Okay, again, if you could indicate for or against that motion, please. Councillor Beaumont.
For.
Councillor Brindley-Edwards.
For.
Councillor Brown.
For.
Councillor Croft.
For.
Councillor Daffin.
For.
Councillor Doughty.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
4.
Councillor Evans.
4.
Councillor Gazane.
4.
Councillor Glass.
4.
Councillor Golby.
4.
Councillor Graham.
4.
Councillor Gutteridge.
4.
Councillor Hancock.
4.
Councillor Hocking. 4. Councillor Jackson.
4.
Councillor Condorcore.
4.
Councillor Llewellyn-Nash.
4.
Councillor Lloyd.
4.
Councillor Longdon.
4.
Councillor Pandare.
4.
Councillor Phillips. Councillor Phillips. I'll come back to you, Councillor Phillips. Councillor Pomfret. Councillor Rudkin.
4.
Councillor A. Sargent.
Against.
Councillor J. Sargent.
Abstain.
4.
That was Councillor
I
Phillips.
didn't say 4.
I think that's
Against.
Councillor Phillips.
4.
Councillor Shepherd. Councillor J. Shepherd, sorry.
4.
Councillor T. Shepherd. 4. Councillor Smith.
4.
Councillor Tandy. Councillor Tromans.
4.
Councillor Walmsley.
4.
Councillor Watkins.
4.
Councillor Wilson.
4.
That's carried.
Thank you. That is carried. So the meeting will continue until 9:30. So we will move back to the substantive motion, which is the original motion from Councillor Jackson with the addition of the words from Councillor Condorcore. Can we take a vote on that, please, then? So on the substantive motion, please. Oh, sorry, I have some speakers. I will take the 4 speakers that are indicating. That is Councillor Elliott, Councillor Evans, Councillor Brown, Councillor Longdon, and then we will move to the vote. Councillor Elliott.
Madam Mayor, my hand was actually raised for a point of order a little while ago. Which is there in the chat. I wasn't expecting you to call me now, but it was a point of order.
I'm
sorry.
I personally can't get into the chat. I'm going to have my IT looked at. So I didn't see it. Have you? Is it there? Have you seen it, Candace?
It was a point of order about 419(3) in the Constitution about a councillor not to be heard further if a member persistently disregards the ruling of the mayor by behaving improperly or offensively or deliberately obstructs business. The mayor may move that the member be not heard further. And at the time that I raised that point of order, Councillor Evans was behaving improperly, offensively, and was persistently disregarding the ruling of the mayor, continuing to speak when he was asked to stop. So that was my point of order at that point.
Okay, Councillor Elliott, that is a valid point of order, and I am aware of that part of the Constitution. So if we could move back to the substantive motion, please. Sorry, who did I? Sorry. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was actually expected to be called next because he originally mentioned me third on the list. But anyway, thank you for calling me to speak anyway. I think I've made this point before in previous councils. Like in some bizarre game show, we've passed up the Conservative motion, which was the star prize of the night, and we're now faced with the booby prize, as it were, some sort of second-hand VHS video player from Tandy's, perhaps, or something like that. You know, we've got a motion now in front of us that's protesting about what the county council going off claimed not to be consulting properly, and your answer is to propose another motion which actually has no evidential base behind it, and it is in itself half-cocked. And if we go to the definition of what half-cocked is, it goes back to the Middle Ages with flintlock rifles, when a rifle went off before the person intended it to, and caused unintended damage and consequences, and caused a worse result. And that's what we have in the Labour motion here before us tonight. It's trying to commit the county council to do something, and we wouldn't like the county council to tell us what to do in this chamber, but yet we seem to be presumptive enough to want to be able to tell and instruct the county council what to do. We're in a situation where, just to quote Councillor Jackson's words, slow down, consult hard. Let's get that done. Let's see what the motion is that's going to the county council, although we actually know what that is. It's been read out to us tonight. It actually calls for proper consultation with the people, to give residents the chance to see the various options that will be placed in front of them. Whereas this motion we have before us tonight tries to protect some sort of status quo. And when you talk about consultation, let's look at this council's record on consultation, shall we? The green bin tax. 3 or 4 weeks before you put leaflets out that said you wouldn't.
Councillor Brown, I am speaking. Would you please speak to the item under discussion, which is the substantive motion?
With respect, Madam Mayor, I'm coming to that. In the same way that your consultation on the borough plan was held in secret largely, our MPs had to raise their own meetings to allow the public to speak. So look, I'll end upon this. This motion has been described as a polished turd. If sticking chrome handles on a Morris Marina or an Austin Allegro is polishing a turd, that's what this is. And I don't think I can support this tonight. Councillor Condacord's words at the end of it are actually the best part of the motion, to consult with people and let people decide. So please, let's have the white paper. Let's have the various documents put forward. Let's consider the evidence, the savings that can be made. From what I've seen so far, there are savings of potentially tens of millions of pounds. I mean, heaven knows the government has spent enough, untold billions on combating COVID-19. We need to give our residents a better form of government than they've had. Let's explore the options, because for goodness sake, the people of Bedworth have not been well served by Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council. The residents of Ash Green and Kersley and Exhall even less so. So let's take the evidence and let's go from an evidential base, not trying to rally somebody into a particular cause of action before we even know the facts. I can't support this motion. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, I'm aware of that. Okay, Councillor Longdon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We've heard some rubbish tonight about what this doesn't mean and what it does mean. What it actually is saying about what you are saying, it's actually calling on the county council to withdraw what the cabinet said and proposed to government. That then gives a clear way forward for everybody to be involved, which is what this proposal is. That's this council, every other council, and the public. And now we've got a referendum on top of that as well. And any other organisation that has a vested interest or any interest whatsoever in local government. In 2018, just after the election, I was at Shire Hall for a meeting. I was early and I sat, and some Conservatives came in afterwards and they were very critical. So my ears picked up about Nuneaton and Bedworth Conservative councillors, letting them down after having all the money and all the human resources thrown into an election which they then lost. And they weren't very happy about that. And one of the reasons they weren't very happy about that is because it meant they couldn't start their proposals on a unitary authority.
What's going on about?
So it's been there for 2 years. 2 years it's been there.
Very good.
I've never heard of this loose.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
I'll take the point of order at the end. Councillor Longden, can you? Can't go. Sorry, Councillor Longden, can you please speak to the substantive motion?
I am speaking to the substantive motion, Madam Mayor. I'm saying what I heard and what the plans have been for the county council for 2 years. It's been on the stocks for them, and maybe the local councillors don't know, but certainly the leadership probably does. And that's what's been discussed over that period of time, and that's where they're coming from. They want a unitary authority based on Warwickshire alone. And that's what their proposal, that's what they're now amending, probably to go to their council, because of the flack that they're getting from their own Conservative district about what they've done, because they're not happy with you either. So let's get on with this. This offers out all the opportunities. And with Councillor Brown saying the various options, there are no various options as far as the county council are concerned.
3.
They've got one. They've got one.
3.
Unitary authority based on Warwickshire, and that's what they've gone public on, and that's what it's. They're doing it again, Chair. It's a waste of time with this lot. They behave like school children in the playground, and it's getting on my nerves. Can I now ask that the vote be put? Thank you.
I have 2 further speakers, and then I will agree that the vote be put on the substantive motion. Councillor Glass. Oh, sorry, there was a point of order. I believe it may be. Was it Councillor Evans? Someone shouted point of order.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Tromans, it was me. I was simply, before tonight, as if it could degenerate any further, I was simply asking you to rein Councillor Longden in and speak to the motion, because his recollections of how unhappy people might have been about the election result has nothing to do with the motion.
I believe you heard me do exactly that, Councillor Tromans. Councillor Glass.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. It's nice to see the old ways of disrupting meetings by quoting paragraph 4, paragraph 5. It's a tactic that's been used mainly by the far right for a number of years. But saying that, that's just my personal opinion. The reason that this is in front of us tonight is because what the county council decided to do on their own. And what we are trying to do is that we're trying to rein them back and say, look, there's a chance for people to get a good local government system up and running. We know since this government was put in, Cummins and Johnson said that they wanted local government reform. So believe this or believe this not, and I could be wrong with this, in many ways I hope I'm not, that the elections next year might be postponed in order to get the new local government reforms through. So that might scupper a few plans some of them, particularly the Nuneaton Tories, have for the near or too distant future. Because if the consultation goes through for a north-south divide, then good old Warwickshire's finished, isn't it? And that's what they're frightened of. That's why they're arguing tonight. That's why they're calling not the system turds, people turds, virtually being disrespectful to anybody that speaks against them. That's what it is all about. When you see the attacks made in Bedworth from so-called Bedworth councillors against the Civic Hall, always against the Civic Hall, for the last, 30 odd years, the Tories have attacked the Civic Hall. They don't see it as a white elephant anymore. Or they don't even see it as the jewel in the crown, which is tarnished, as I think one of them said once upon a time. They see it as a white whale. They see it as something they've got to destroy.
and talking down the Civic Hall and talking down Bedworth in particular, in my case, and then the tone afterwards is disgraceful. So I shall be voting for this tonight, Madam Mayor, only because if we're going to do it properly, let's do it properly. And at the end of 2 years or 3 years, I have accepted that there will be reforms in local government. Let's take the public with us so they know exactly what's happening. Whether they get a town council and they can look after graveyards and parks and decide what colour of green they can paint benches, that'll be up to them. And I'm all in favour of that. So let's get on, let's get us forward, and let's get the people to speak, as I'm sure they will in their droves. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Final speaker before I go to the vote, excuse me, is Councillor Gold.
Madam Mayor, I did put in the chat about a point of personal explanation.
Sorry, who was that?
That was Councillor Walmsley. Sorry, I should have said Councillor Walmsley.
Councillor Walmsley, sorry, as I said earlier, excuse me, I can't get into the chat. So,
Madam Mayor, I also put in a point of personal explanation. That's just Councillor Brown here. Thank you.
Okay, if you...
and Councillor Evans.
Councillor Walmsley, you haven't spoken in this particular substantive motion, so I'm a bit unsure why you can raise a point of order.
Yeah, point of personal explanation, Madam Mayor. I'll happy to set out the grounds for that. Councillor Glass in his comments mentioned about who were referencing points of this and subsection that of Constitution, and attempted to elude anybody that did so as being certainly unsavoury. And I am a person that does that. Can I make it very clear and on record that is done so because it's what the Constitution requires us to do, and what you yourself, Madam Mayor, keep telling us to do so. And I'd be grateful if you could ask Councillor Glass to withdraw those comments, because I don't think that they're helpful at all, Madam Mayor, given that it is your advice that we are following, Madam Mayor, in order to quote those relevant sections. Thank you.
I could have spent all night asking many members, councillors on the in this meeting to withdraw the comments that they have made. So I have no intention of asking Councillor Glass to withdraw that, and I really don't think that was a point of personal explanation, because you had not spoken in the.
He was quite clearly referencing myself.
Councillor Walmsley, I am taking. Councillor Brown, you had a point of personal information.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I would just like to reference Councillor Glass's comments in his last speech. He mentioned several Bedworth councillors effectively trying to do down the Civic Hall by referring it as tarnished, not the jewel in the crown. I don't believe any of us have made that reference in the debate tonight. Or in any recent debates. I believe in a previous debate in another committee, I might have mentioned the fact that the jewel in the crown of the Civic Hall has become tarnished under the management of the Labour Party over the past decades. But it's certainly not our opinion that it's less than the jewel in the crown, or could be in the future if it was run properly. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. There was a further point of explanation, Simone. Councillor Evans, you had a further point of explanation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, there is no such thing as a point of personal information. It's a point of...
I said explanation, Councillor.
My point of personal explanation is in reference to the comments made by Councillor Glass, where he referenced a number of Bedworth councillors. He made numerous points about the Civic Hall, and we're trying to destroy the Civic Hall. That's absolutely not true. Actually, it was Bedworth Conservative councillors that tried to save the Civic Hall by bringing in external auditors after decades.
Councillor Evans, could you tell me?
From this Labour administration.
Councillor Evans, could you please tell me what the Civic Hall has got to do with the debate we are currently talking about?
Perhaps you should have asked that question to Councillor Glass, because you let him speak about the Civic Hall.
Madam Mayor, can I move that Councillor Evans be no longer heard if these interruptions, without due regard for the matters under discussion?
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that proposal?
Seconded.
Is there? Sorry, who was that?
Pomfret.
Thank you. I now have to move immediately to the
Point of
vote.
order, Madam Mayor. That is not a
No, I'm
constitutional
sorry.
vote.
I have
In accordance
now.
with the Constitution,
Hang on.
the
Would you
Constitution
please
does not allow that,
let?
Madam Mayor.
Excuse me. I'm the one who decides what I will allow and what I will not allow, and a proper proposal has been moved by
No, it has
Councillor
not, Madam Mayor. It is only the
and
Mayor who can make such
seconded.
a motion.
Excuse me. Again. You're doing it again. And we will move to an immediate vote on that item, as I believe we can under the Constitution, Mr. Richardson.
This is Councillor Walmsley. Point of order, Madam Mayor.
You might want to just check whether the point of order that is relevant to the issue.
Who was speaking. I can't see all of you on my screen, so I have to rely on knowing who is speaking. Councillor Walmsley, was your point of order anything whatsoever to do with the agenda? What we are talking about at the moment which was the substantive motion. I don't believe it was.
Madam Mayor.
It depends what motion you're about to move to, Madam Mayor. You indicated that you were not
I
gonna...
said, I made it quite clear what I was moving to. A proposal has been made that Councillor Evans be no longer heard in this meeting.
Then yes, it is.
It is in the Constitution. Sorry. One moment. I can't get on again. Right. Now tell me. No. Someone's playing with it again and again. I'm sorry, it's gone again. There's not. I've had it on and not free. Okay. But you will have to move it and get a second. Gonna get this. You're unmuted. Can you mute me? No, I'm not. You're unmuted. I'm unmuted. I'm muted. That's it. Okay. It's become so bad with people constantly trying to unmute me that officers are now having to mute and unmute me when I wish to speak to them. Right. It seems that it is only myself who is able to move that Councillor Evans be no longer heard in this meeting. I will move that. Is there a seconder, please?
Seconded.
Thank you.
Recorded vote.
Yes. There's no recorded vote on this item. Am I correct, Mr. Richardson?
No, Madam Mayor, it's not a procedural motion.
It is a procedural motion.
It's not a procedural motion.
Sorry, it can be a recorded vote.
It can be a recorded vote. I thought it said it couldn't.
It's not procedural.
Okay, we'll have a recorded.
Madam Mayor, can we move, once we've got this vote out of the way, can we move directly to the vote on the motion?
it can be a constructive vote. I thought it said it couldn't.
You're muted, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
we'll have a
Madam Mayor, can we move, once we've got this vote out of the way, can we move directly
Okay.
on the motion?
Well, can we take a recorded vote, please, on the proposal?
Okay, so if you'd indicate for or against the motion that's been moved in relation to Councillor Evans, just to be clear. Councillor Beaumont. Councillor Beaumont.
For.
Councillor Brindley Edwards.
Against.
Councillor Brown.
Against.
Councillor Croft.
Against.
Councillor Daffin.
For.
Councillor Doherty.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Evans.
Against.
Councillor Gazane.
Against.
Councillor Glass.
For.
Councillor Golby.
No councillors should be silenced in representation of their residents, so I'm voting against.
So Councillor Golby, was that against?
Councillor Evans should not be silenced.
Councillor Grant.
Against, and I would like my vote recorded because I believe in freedom of speech.
Councillor Gutteridge.
Against.
Councillor Hancock. Councillor Hocking. For. Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Condacor.
Against.
Councillor Llewellyn-Nash. Councillor Llewellyn-Nash. I'll come back to you, Councillor Llewellyn-Nash. Councillor Lloyd.
For.
Councillor Longdon.
For.
Councillor Pandare.
Against.
Councillor Phillips.
Turn your standard.
Councillor Phillips. I'll come back to Councillor Phillips. Councillor Pomfret.
For.
Councillor Rudkin. Councillor A. Sargent.
Against.
Councillor J. Sargent.
Against, because Rose is shouting out.
Councillor J. Shepherd. Councillor T. Shepherd.
For.
Councillor Smith.
Against.
Councillor Tandy. Councillor Tromans.
Against.
Councillor Walmsley.
Against.
Councillor Watkins.
For.
Councillor Wilson.
Nash against.
Councillor Wilson.
So much for democracy and debate. Against.
Councillor Llewellyn-Nash.
Against.
And Councillor Phillips.
For. For.
Madam Mayor, can I move suspension of standing orders again until the conclusion of the vote we are about to make?
Amend that to the end of the meeting.
Could you just hold on one moment while we do the vote on the other one? Right, it was 1717, so I will use my casting vote and say for. Right. Can we move standing orders a second time, Councillor Mr. Richardson?
Can we just move to the vote now, Chair?
Well, that was what I was about to do, but now we have to explore whether we can move standing orders again, unless Councillor Jackson wants to withdraw her proposal.
Madam Mayor, I'm more than happy to do so, but I am very concerned that this meeting is being elongated by points of order, points of personal explanation. I think we should deal with this matter and then that should be our time expired.
Madam Mayor, point of order, and what about my motion?
If the meeting finishes at 9:30, then your motion, along with any other business, is likely to have to go to a continuation of this meeting.
Then, Madam Mayor, explain, is that not the reason why you decided to take my motion out of order?
No, that is absolute. Councillor Tromans, please do not accuse me of doing that. You heard my explanation when you spoke earlier. I am now moving to the vote on the proposal that the original proposal with the addition of Councillor Darker's words. Can you take the vote, please? We'll have a recorded vote, please, Simone. And can you move to the vote, please?
Councillor Tandy, you did invite me to speak before all this kicked off.
I said that you were one of the speakers, but we are now moving to the vote.
Yeah, you invited me to speak and then...
I have not. I said that you were on the list. I have not said, Councillor Goby, do you want to speak? So we're now moving to the vote. Councillor Simone, would you take the vote, please? A recorded vote.
Honestly.
Disgraceful.
You have to joke, this really is.
Councillor Simone, would you take the recorded vote, please?
If you could indicate for or against, this is the original motion with Councillor Condacor's amendment added. Councillor Beaumont.
For.
Councillor Brindley-Edwards.
Against.
Councillor Brown.
Against.
Councillor Croft.
Against.
Councillor Daffin.
For.
Councillor Doherty.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor Evans is no longer to be heard. Councillor Gazane.
Against.
Point of order,
Councillor Evans can still vote. He can't speak, but he can vote.
Yes.
If it can no longer be heard, he can't vote.
Whoa, hold on.
Get on with
Can
it.
we have a legal ruling on that, please?
Absolutely.
Christ, it's worse than North Korea.
This is getting out of
I
hand.
think you'll find you're wrong, Madam Mayor.
You're very.
Again.
It's okay.
Yes, sorry, the legal advice is that yes, he can, Councillor Evans.
Oh, ridiculous. Come on.
Apologies, that was my error. Councillor Evans.
I'm taking legal action, but yeah, I'm against.
Councillor Glass. Councillor Glass.
Drop off.
I'll come back to Councillor Glass. Councillor Golby.
I can't vote for this. I'm abstaining. This is a joke.
Councillor Gran.
Against.
Councillor Gutteridge.
Against.
Councillor Hancox.
For.
Councillor Hocking. For. Councillor Jackson.
For.
Councillor Condacor.
Abstain.
Councillor Welling Nash.
Against.
Councillor Lloyd.
For.
Councillor Longden.
For.
Councillor Pandair.
Against.
Councillor Phillips.
For.
Councillor Pomfret.
For.
Councillor Rudkin.
For.
Councillor A. Sargent.
Abstain.
Councillor J. Sargent.
Abstain.
Councillor J. Shepherd.
For.
Councillor T. Shepherd. For. Councillor Smith.
Against.
Councillor Tandy. Councillor Tandy.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Tromans.
This is a farce.
Councillor Tromans.
Yeah, I said that.
Carry on. No.
Councillor Walmsley.
Against.
Councillor Watkins.
For.
Councillor Wilson.
Against.
Councillor Wilson.
Against.
I did say against, sorry.
And Councillor Glass.
For.
That's 17 for. 12 against. 5 abstentions. That's carried.
That proposal is carried. Thank you.
It's anti-democratic.
I think we are now watching. Pardon? Sorry, I have a point of order in the chat. We have 2 minutes left of this meeting. Who is it? Councillor Walmsley.
Hi, Councillor Walmsley. Thank you, Madam Mayor. In accordance with Council Rules 4A12M, I move that this meeting continue beyond the duration to enable all business to be heard.
Seconded.
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 That is a further extension of standing orders. Councillor.
Well, we've already agreed to extend standing orders to 9:30, Madam Mayor, so I'm not sure we can have.
I am being told that we cannot accept a second motion on standing or. Could you let me finish, please? I really am fed up tonight of you constantly interrupting me when I am speaking. And you can all sit, hang on. You can all sit there laughing and grinning for as long as you want.
One person or a small group has absolute power over a country.
This is an absolutely great.
Very childish. Very childish.
Some dictators, like Chairman Mao of China, come to power as a result of a revolution. After the Chinese Revolution in 1949, the Chinese people granted power to Chairman Mao and the Communist Party to rule China.
Just lift the mace, Chair. Just lift the mace. It's all grown. We are on.
Let's close the meeting.
Funny. Is that how you represent local people, is it?
Sorry, folks, but this is now pathetic. So, you know, let's grow some. If we're going to carry on with the meeting, let's carry on with the meeting.
Never said anything wrong to you.
The irony is that if we'd have just had the debate in the first place, we'd have all done by now. I mean, you know, is there a lesson in that? Stop shutting down debate.
Madam Mayor, is the meeting finished?
I agree. But playing silly music over something that's been streamed to the general public is pathetic.
The whole meeting's pathetic, Andy. I don't disagree. The whole meeting.
Well, the whole meeting is pathetic, yes. So let's just get on with it.
Well, we can't. The whole point is